How do you set up an issues and risks tracker for your project so that your project team can capture and resolve them more quickly? I'm Tony Zink, and this is the Project Guide. Hi folks, Tony Zink here, project management author and trainer and creator of the Project Manifesto. I show people how to use tools and techniques to get better results faster on their projects, whether that means saving time, saving money, reducing risks, or providing a more stress-free and pleasant experience for everyone involved in your project. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing or following me on this channel. And if you're not tuning in directly on my website, tonyzink.com, then you can go there to get the video for this episode and others like it, the audio podcast for this episode, the entire written transcript, and other goodies too. Have you ever had project issues that lingered and went unresolved for several weeks or even months before they were finally resolved? Meanwhile, they caused delays, scheduling conflicts, or extra expenditures on your project because they lingered for so long? Have you or someone on your project team ever lost track of a critical project issue in your email inbox or junk folder? Sometimes issues are encountered that cause major problems on your projects, but they could have been prevented if someone had captured them early and managed them as risks. Maybe you've been at a meeting or out of the office and you weren't able to see or update a project issue when you needed to because it was stored in your email inbox or in a spreadsheet on your computer back at the office. Project teams run into these types of problems all the time when their project issues and risks aren't captured and tracked in a central location with no ability to see the status, who last updated it, or when it was last updated. Problems like these can be prevented though, or at least greatly reduced by creating a project issues and risks tracker, storing it in a central location, and sharing it with your project team. People have been using issues and risks logs for decades. The typical method is to create a document table or a spreadsheet with rows for each issue or risk and columns indicating the types of information that you want to track for each issue or risk, such as a title, description, an owner, and so forth. Oftentimes, though, risks aren't even tracked formally for a project. Team members may occasionally bring up things that could cause a problem or an issue for their project, but they're not formally tracked. And if they are, then they're typically tracked in a separate risks log. Meanwhile, these logs are oftentimes kept on someone's hard drive or passed around via email, and we end up with problems like, who has the latest version of the issues list? Or, I need to see the latest status of issue XYZ, but Becky has it and she's out sick today. This is where online worksheet and list tools help us with our centralization problems and our mobility problems. An online worksheet and list tool is an internet-based service that allows you to store, organize, and share tables and lists of information in a central repository and access them with nearly any type of internet-connected device. You can use online worksheet and list tools to manage project-related information such as issues, risks, action items, change requests, decisions, and other types of structured information that you can organize into a list with rows and columns. Some of the more popular services are web-based, so your team members don't need to install any special software on their PCs or mobile devices. All they need is a web browser, as long as you've given them the permission to access the information. Online worksheet and list tools are fantastic for project teams because project information is accessible from any internet-connected computer or mobile device, such as smartphones or tablets. So team members can access their information from the office, from the field, from the airport, or from just about anywhere. Like spreadsheet files, these tools give you the ability to store your structured project information in sets of rows and columns, which you can then easily sort, group, or filter to see the information exactly the way you want. So, want to see all the open issues? No problem. Want to see all overdue issues? No problem. Want to see all the risks that are assigned to you? No problem. These tools offer a great alternative to sending emails with lists of information or sending documents or spreadsheet files to people by attaching them to emails, so important lists or records don't get lost in your email inbox or junk mail folder. Therefore, everyone on the project team has easy access to the latest information, even if someone else makes updates. Because everyone is working out of the same repository, there's no confusion about who has the latest and greatest version of a file or email, because everyone has the latest information. And finally, the project team's lists and records are stored in a secure repository, so no one can access them without having the right login credentials that you've given to them. I'm going to share with you a 4-step process for setting up a tracker using an online worksheet or list tool that you can use as a single repository for all of your project-related issues and risks. Since issues and risks are so closely related, risks are basically potential issues that haven't happened yet, I'll recommend that you create a single consolidated tracker for both, rather than 2 separate trackers. You should be able to follow these steps, regardless of which worksheet or list tool you choose to use. So the first step in setting up a project issues and risks tracker is to select an online worksheet or list tool. There are several online worksheet or list tools available today, and some of them are free or fairly inexpensive to use. So spend some time picking the right tool for your business and for your project team. Different tools have different sets of features and functions, and different project teams have different needs. So you'll want to line up your needs with the right tool. Determine the needs of your project team in terms of the types of information that you'll be storing and sharing, such as embedded files, images, and icons in your tracker, the amount of information that you'll be tracking in terms of numbers of rows and columns, formatting requirements, platform compatibility requirements such as Windows or Mac PCs or Android or iOS mobile devices, and so forth. Some worksheet and list tools may have restrictions in some of these areas, so you'll want to find out if you have any special requirements that can't be met by any of the tools that you're considering. For example, you may need to embed large images or photos into your issues and risks tracker that some tools can't easily handle. Also, determine your budget for implementing one of these online worksheet or list tools. Some tools are free, but others charge a fee for you to use them. The options that cost money typically include more sophisticated features, or they have more storage capacity. Research some of the available tools, their features, research their reviews, and their pricing, including any tools that your company may already use. You may be surprised to find that another department or team inside your company already uses one of these tools, so ask around. You may be able to share the one that they're using if it meets your needs, or at least get some candid feedback from them about the experience that they've had with that particular tool. Select 2 or 3 of the top tools that you think may meet your needs, test drive them for a period of time, and make a final selection. If you'd like some suggestions for online worksheet or list tools to check out, you can visit my website, tonyzink.com, and download my free Project Tools Resource Guide. The second step in setting up our Project Issues and Risks tracker is to plan out the issues and risks data structure and naming conventions. Once people start using your new online worksheet or list tool to keep track of all of their project issues and risks, it can quickly turn into a disorganized dumping ground where it becomes increasingly difficult to find the information that you need when you need it. If people can't find what they're looking for, then they'll quickly abandon the tool and resort to other methods that they're already familiar with. They'll resort back to storing information in files and emails and sending the files around to one another via email, which is what caused our problems in the first place. To prevent this from happening, we need to keep our issues and risks tracker clean and organized. Set up a standardized set of columns or attributes for everyone to use for tracking their issues and risks, and restrict the creation of new columns if you can. In other words, create a standardized set of columns, such as title, description, date identified, person assigned, probability, severity, resolution, and date closed. If you'll be tracking issues and risks for multiple projects in the same tracker, then include a column for project name. Like other attributes that you've identified, the project name attribute will allow you to search, sort, and filter your list of issues and risks based on that project. To make it easy for people to find and understand the names of issues and risks in your tracker, create rules describing what kinds of codes or keywords should be used in their names, as well as rules describing minimum and maximum name lengths. It can be pretty annoying when you're looking through issues and risks that someone else has created and you can't find what you're looking for because they've used cryptic names for everything. If your online worksheet or list tool has pick list features, then I highly recommend turning them on and using them. This will allow you to standardize the information that people are entering into the columns for any given issue or risk by forcing them to pick from a list of values that you provide rather than allowing them to type in anything they want. Step 3 of our 4-step process is to grant access to the project team. Now, these online worksheet or list tools have security mechanisms in place to allow only the people who you specify access to the information. You'll need to set up a unique ID or account for each person on your team who needs to access the online issues and risks tracker. This allows you to control who has access to the tool, and if someone leaves the company, then you can shut down their access without affecting anyone else. When everyone has a unique ID, then you can also see what each person is doing in the tool, and you can see who made a change to an issue or risk that you're interested in. Software or apps typically won't need to be installed on team members' PCs or mobile devices, but you should probably test each person's device to ensure that there's no compatibility issues with their device and the tool that you've selected. Remember that you can grant customers access to your issues and risks tracker as well. If you want to do this, you'll need to give them their own unique account so that they can access your project information. The fourth and final step in setting up our project issues and risks tracker is to train the project team members and communicate your usage policies to them. Once you've selected an online worksheet or list tool, planned out the data structure and naming conventions, and granted people access, it's time to officially roll it out to your project team. First of all, don't assume that people will automatically know how to use your new tool. Although these tools are typically pretty easy to use, set aside some time to give your team members an overview of the new tool and how to use it. For example, if your new tool allows concurrent editing of issues and risks, then teach everyone how to use that feature to make their lives easier, since that may be a new concept to some people. Train them also on the standards that you've put into place, such as data structures and naming conventions, and what other types of things are allowed or not allowed. Instruct them not to share their login credentials with anyone else, whether they're customers, vendors, or other employees, since this will put your projects and your company's information at risk. If someone needs to access your issues and risks tracker, then they should need to have their own credentials set up. No sharing should be allowed. Rules and policies are usually created for a reason, to protect your company and to make everyone's lives easier. So to wrap up, if you follow these 4 steps to set up an online issues and risks tracker for your project, select an online worksheet or list tool, plan out your issues and risks data structure and naming conventions, grant access to the project team, and train the project team members and communicate your usage policies, then you should minimize the numbers of issues and risks that go unresolved for weeks or months at a time. You should stop losing track of important issues or risks in people's email inboxes or junk mail folders. You should have an easier time tracking down the latest status of all of your project issues and risks. You should prevent issues from happening by identifying, tracking, and managing them as risks early on. And you should have the ability to easily see or update an issue or risk whenever you need to, regardless of your location. So thanks for tuning in and spending this time with me. I hope that you've enjoyed these tips and that you find them useful. I'd like to take a quick moment and remind you of these 2 things. Number 1, if you're not tuning in directly on my website, then you can visit my site at tonyzink.com. You can watch this video and others like it. You can listen to the audio podcast. You can read the entire written transcript and find other goodies there too, such as my free Project Tools Resource Guide. And number 2, please post your thoughts in the comments section. Do you have any questions, tips, or recommendations that you'd like to share? How do you handle situations like this? Some of the best questions and tips come from folks like you, the project management community, the people who are out there in the trenches every day working on projects. So definitely connect with everybody in the comments section. And until I see you next time, Go back out there and keep building great things.